call our meeting to order. Welcome to the regular board meeting in the Valley Irrigation District Board of Directors. Today is May 25th, 2022. Would you all stand with me for the pledge of allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Division 4? Here. Division 1?
Here, by Zoom.
Division 5?
Here.
Division 3? Division 2?
Here. Thank you. And at this point in time, we're going to take a moment of silence to remember the shooting victims in Texas this week. Okay, at this time, we'll take a public comment for any items not on today's agenda. If you would like to comment on items pertinent to NID that are not agendized today, this is your opportunity. Start on your phone or step to the microphone. Okay, seeing none, we'll continue with our consent agenda. We'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
I'd like to pull a couple items, clarification.
Okay.
I'd like to pull on 3C and 3F.
3C and 3F.
And I would move to approve item 3A through B, 3A, B, D, E, G, H, I.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please? No, wait. We have to do public comment. Okay. Any public comment on these items or approving at this time? Starting on your phone. Okay. Now, Madam Secretary, you call the roll, please.
Yes. Division 4?
Aye.
Division 1?
Aye.
Division 5?
Yes.
Division 3? Aye. Division 2?
Aye. Okay, let's see if I can get this in order. So, item 3C,
Okay, I just have a
Director Peters.
quick, just minor questions on both of these. On 3C, the last resolve on the resolution shall be determined by lot, L-O-T, all capital. What does that stand for? Okay, further resolve, the Nevada Irrigation District has determined that the election state of the tie vote shall be determined by lot, L-O-T.
So I made an assumption about that.
Like the biblical casting of lots?
Yes.
I'm not joking. It's just a way to break a tie.
It's for a tie, yeah.
How do you, what's the way?
I honestly don't know the details. It's like flipping a coin,
Yep.
basically. Yeah,
Why did you flip a coin?
Flip a coin for a lot,
yeah.
for a tie. Right.
Casting a lot, drawing of straws, it's basically chance to figure out how you break a tie.
Okay. So I move to adopt 3C.
Second.
Any public comment on this item? Starting on your phone. All right, Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
Division 4?
Aye.
Division 5?
Yes.
Division 1?
Yes.
Division 3? Aye. Division 2?
All right. Okay, and item 3F,
F.
Director Peters.
Yeah, it notes on the last, therefore, that the Board of Directors hereby authorizes the General Manager to take appropriate action to implement this resolution. What would be an example of an appropriate action that would need to be taken?
Well, it's a decision of the previous order, so.
Yeah, it's just referencing the rescission. It probably doesn't need to be there, but there's no harm in it being there.
Yeah.
But is there actions associated with it?
It's just the rescission itself is the action. It could be there or not.
Potentially unwinding a contract.
Yeah, it could be
There's
that.
one.
It could be unwinding anything staff's currently doing.
Yeah, I think it's more of just a placeholder for any other resolution that we would put, that there would be action. If there would be any other authorization, the general manager would have the authorization to take any appropriate action on any resolution, so that just, I think there's no action that I can think of that this would.
It could be sending the rescission to another agency.
Yeah.
But any of these actions would never come back to the board. It would be stuff that would happen after the fact that we would.
Not as an emergency.
You have to take it in the context of the therefores, so they have to be taken together. And so the only appropriate action implemented by this resolution is the action of the rescission
And we've
itself.
already seen it in number one, right? We've consequently resolution, established a declaration for the river part is repealed or rescinded it, right? We're rescinding it in this resolution.
Yes.
So I don't know what additional actions be needed. I don't think we need number two.
I would just recommend you leave it in there. It's the board's desire in the event that we need to contact another agency, or just all encompassing. It has nothing to do with anything besides the rescission itself.
I'm comfortable with it as written. Any other board comments?
No?
So there's no further risk?
No, this concludes the authorization of emergency. And so the authorization of emergency established that the district could enter into contracts safe without appropriate bidding opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. This just, we've completed all of those emergency actions as defined in the staff report. There's no more emergency actions. There's actions that we will be doing in this year, in this fall, in the river fire burn area, and probably next year. But what this does is, I don't see any legal ramifications.
There's no further implementation, is there? It says to implement this resolution, and there's no more further implementation of this resolution, is my understanding. But we're repealing it in number one, and then we're saying, well, if we have any other actions on to do with it, then general manager.
Well, if there's a notification.
concern?
Yeah, I'm not.
Because it's irrelevant. I don't know how it's.
Not necessarily. It could be relevant to actions that were currently financial things. It really doesn't, provide any additional authorities to
We
the
shouldn't be
general.
acting on this anymore, should we?
It could-
I'm not following what the concern is either, so maybe you could help me understand.
I think we should say what we mean and mean what we say, and I don't think it's necessary.
Are you afraid that some action would be taken that would be something that the board should be involved in?
No, I think the board is repealing it, and so I don't think there should be any needed further action on it.
But how would we know, and why wouldn't we give management the flexibility to be able to adjust as things come up that may be contacting another agency or wrapping up a contract or
Well,
just
apparently it's all
closing
been
things?
done. It's been repealed. We've repealed it.
But repealing is different than implementing final actions that close it out from a organizational point of view. I mean, there could still be potentially things that need to be wrapped up that we don't know about that come up. I don't know what they would be, but, I mean, why wouldn't we give the management the flexibility to do that?
As a, for instance, we've been working with FEMA and OES, and this could be a notification to FEMA or OES that this is no longer an emergency. I don't know. They may ask.
All right, that's fine. I just think that we should be concise. I'm grateful. I really appreciate that we're repealing this, because I don't think this has been an issue for quite some time. So I move to adopt 3F.
I'll second that.
Any public comment on item 3F, the consent agenda? Start on your phone. Madam Secretary, you call the roll, please.
Division 4,
Aye.
Division 1,
Yes.
Division 5,
Yes.
Division 3,
Aye.
Division 2.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Number 4A. resolution implementing drought emergency response to stage 2. Now, at this point, I'm going to usurp my authority as chairman to have the motion first, so I don't lose the motion. My parliament procedure training, we have the motion first, then we discuss it, we amend it, we table it, we do whatever we want, moving first. So I'll ask for a motion for this resolution.
I'm gonna move,
Your microphone on?
Microphone.
On the,
There we go.
there you go.
There we go.
You know, I want Ricky to be able to hear you.
kinda quiet over here.
That's good.
I'm gonna move to adopt resolution number 2022-29, enacting drought contingency plan stage 2 measures and enhancing conservation measures in accordance with Governor Newsom's executive order N-7-22.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion from the board? Or any, let's see, how about presentations from the staff, I'm sorry. Do that first.
That's a wrap. All right.
Rules.
Well, thank you for that. I do, however, have a water supply presentation for you. We can walk through it. We'll go through it rather quick because I feel like this is redundant. We have gone through this now for the last 3 or 4 board meetings, but
But it's always
But
fun.
it's good.
It's always
we
fun.
do have
Better.
Yeah.
We do have slides. But it's getting better for us, not necessarily statewide. So that's what we'll cover here briefly in this quick slideshow here. We can get the clicker to work and we'll be on our way.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, so Bowman Lake precipitation, as we've seen, we are below average at 86% with 57.19 inches of precip. Nothing unusual there. We're pretty much done for the season. Our May 1st snow survey came in at 64% of average, which is not great, but better than the rest of the state for the most part. And then this is the bright spot, as we have continued to discuss, is that our reservoir storage is very robust. We're now at 110% of average at a 260,659 acre feet. We do expect this to come up just a little bit as the tail end of the snow melt comes in, and then we will wrap up the season of collection.
So Chip, how do you reconcile that difference, the lack of below average rainfall with above average storage? What's the thing I'm missing in there?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and really, more than anything, it's a combination of direct diversions we did and stuck the rest into storage, more so than we've done in the past. We were just very conscious in operations, and that's what I attribute it to.
Yeah.
Good job.
Good job.
It's the hydro
Great job.
and our hydrographers, so they do a great job managing this whole thing, so appreciate their efforts. Just a little flashback for us. This is what our forecast looked like in March, and it was rather bleak at the time. Here's our current forecast. So you can see what a difference those late spring storms have made. We now anticipate a carryover storage right around 160,000 acre feet, so really good news for us. For all intents and purposes, this would be a normal year. However, we're here to talk about drought because of the governor's executive order, so we'll dive into the details in that in just a second. And then a quick walkthrough of the drought monitor for California. This is what it looked like in October of '21, rather bleak. And then as we got those storms in late October and into December, you can see we lightened up statewide. Things were looking really good. Then we hit one of the driest spells on record in March. Here's April, and then here we are in May 17th. So the rest of the state is back into heavy, heavy drought.
Chip, what goes into determining?
It's a whole bunch of things. It's not solely water supply, it's moisture content in the soils, financials, all of that.
Groundwater?
There's a whole bunch, yes, all of that is related. I can bring back the details on this at the next meeting, but it's not just about water supply.
Because the wells on the west side of Sacramento Valley are going dry.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
Is this our annual water supply and demand assessment that we're gonna be submitting to, we submit these
No,
slides to the state?
no, we do our own study for that. We'll get into that here in a little bit. So statewide, here is Lake Shasta. This is a little bit different than what you've been seeing in the presentation in the past. I included this type of slide. It's a little busy, but the reason I included it is on the bottom left there, you can see It actually gives you the percentages of where the lake is at. But the colored graphics are basically the same. The blue line shows you where we are at Shasta right now. The red lines, you can see the legend at the bottom. Basically, the red lines are dry years. The green lines are wet years. And then, like I said, the blue line's this year, the black line is last year. So gives you a little bit of comparison. Shasta really is hurting at only 40%, not very good. Lake Oroville's doing a little bit better. You can see we've passed all the dry years. We're doing a lot better than last year, but still not above average. We're only at 55%. Folsom Lake, again, one of the outliers, just doing phenomenal, 110%, doing really well. New Bullards, same scenario here. They're much like us, where they're at above 100%. They were just, the bulk of the storms hit this region, and we are thankful for that, and we're the recipients of very good water storage supply. The seasonal temperature outlook, this is the long term. This is the 3-month outlook. So they're predicting that temperature-wise, we're going to be above average for June, July, and August. And precipitation-wise, we're going to be about equal chances for June, July, and August. So, and which is funny because we don't really get much rain.
Get it.
So I'm sure that's not too hard to predict, but there you go. You have it. And then term 91, as we have discussed in the past, this is kind of the gauge about if the delta's in excess or there's not enough water for the delta and curtailments start going into effect. State Water Resources Control Board had a meeting yesterday. They said they expect notifying water right holders with term 91 that cutbacks will be coming in the next week or so, but curtailments probably be held off until later in June and expanding in July. So that's kind of where we're at. That's actually good news for us here at MID, and here's the reason why. Here is the snowpack. These are our reservoirs up in the upper country. We've got the top, there's Jackson Meadows, and kind of the middle left, there's Bowman. But what you can see on April 24th, we had a pretty robust snowpack. Not too bad. A lot of white up there. This is as of May 19th. Not much left. So honestly, we're going to still get a little bit of runoff in the next few weeks, and it's going to be hot, and it's going to only accelerate that. But I fully expect by June, the amount of natural flows in the creeks and streams up there is really going to dwindle away. So a curtailment order across the board will hurt a little bit, but not as bad as it would if it went into play right now.
What makes the state, what are the factors that influence the state's decision on curtailment in a situation like this? I can get it other times of the year, but why would they not curtail now? Not that we want them to, but why? What would be influencing their decision making?
That's a great question. In a perfect world, the water rights have a priority in them, right? And in a perfect world, they're taking everybody's water usage in real time along with the natural runoff and determining how many water rights the natural runoff can support and to what year. That is not an exact science, and they're still working on it, and I think they're improving every year. But what they're doing is they're taking the reports from all the water agencies. We report now once a month, all of our diversions and how much we're using along with how much natural is available. And they're doing that analysis in real time and then turning on and off water rights based on the availability that's out there. That's really that's what their goal is.
Okay.
They're getting better at it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Still need some work, but hard to do with the complications of the water rights and many overlapping water rights. Okay, so many times we've had questions about how much have our raw water customers conserved. We always give the treated water conservation slide, so I thought I'd give you a quick update on what the raw water sales have looked like. So in 2021, we had 88 new customers. This was prior to the Stage 2 drought declaration where we froze all new sales. So that was a total purchase allotment of 113 miners inches for 1,000 acre-feet. We also had 81 customers that increased their purchase allotment for 326 acre-feet. And then we had 134 customers who voluntarily decreased, which is impressive, for 1,950 acre-feet. So we appreciated that effort. And then where are we at this year? So this year we have 164 new customers. Once we lifted that mandatory drought measure. We had a lot of folks call in and ask for water, so that's what you see here. 2,272 acre feet. Increases, we had 84 customers request an increase for 1,185 acre feet. And then decreases, we do have folks decreasing again this year, which is great, 1,324 acre feet. So at the bottom of that slide there, you see the total of the 2 years, 3,299 acre feet of new purchases, those are new customers, 1,512 acre feet in customers who increased, and then last, 3,274 in voluntary reductions. So just kind of give you a feel for where that's all headed.
So the voluntary reduction is the same as last year, same people?
Same number of people, but a different amount. Yeah, strange, huh?
Yes.
I had to look at that twice when I wrote the slide.
Put it back again, so 84 decreased purchase and 134 decreased it here.
Yeah.
That's not the.
Yeah, 84 and 134, but the same amount, 215 minus interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. Okay, and then treated water usage comparison, you can see that, we've already talked about this at the last board meeting, basically, but last month was a very good conservation month, mainly due to the rains. Overall, for the year, we're at 3% less than 2021.
Chip, could we go back 1 second to that previous slide that?
Sure.
So it just, one of the things that is always going through my head when we're talking about these things is the balance between wanting to provide water to our community, and that's our mission, so we need to be doing that, with the whole overlay of the drought, of our plan for water work, where we're talking about the potential of needing to invest dramatically in the infrastructure. So here we are, we're expanding water sales, while we simultaneously have drought conditions, while we simultaneously are looking at, wow, we might be spending multiple millions of dollars to expand an infrastructure in order to support new sales. And these numbers are not, like over the top, so I mean, I can appreciate that, but incrementally, year over year, it does start adding up. And so at some point, I'd like to have a conversation about this, because it seems like it's one of the fundamental conflicts that as an organization and as a board that we have to grapple with.
That would be a great thing to itemize for plan for water discussion, because you're right on. Even if we don't plan for expansion of sales, just maintaining the infrastructure we have with South Yuba Canal is gonna be a big one, so that's good.
Well, this is, somewhat significant, I agree. It pales in comparison to the amount of water that the environmental demands are going to take. I mean, what we're looking at, a little over 3,000 acre feet versus 46,200 acre feet during the FERC relicensing, plus the unimpaired flows will be even higher.
Where do you get that number?
Out of the table 2 or 3 of the TM supply and demand.
And it's based on water year type, it's not a hard and fast number.
No, it's an average.
It's different every water year type.
Yeah, anywhere from 16,000?
It's not a hard and fast.
16,000 to 59,000 something.
I think that the environmental flows are certainly a factor, but they're not really one or the other. They're both of them. So,
Yeah.
and I just think, anyway, that's my opinion,
But
is that I think it's appropriate to have some kind of a structured dialogue about that.
I think that's why we have the plan for water, because we're gonna have to factor both.
Yeah,
Yep.
and maybe it comes out of strategic planning, I don't know.
And so can you reiterate just your fundamental?
Well, just that I think we have to articulate the district's position relative to, the mission of expanding water service with the reality that expanding water service means additional, potentially dramatically expensive additive cost to the district for infrastructure. That is my.
And yet, we have people in the district who are not being served yet, and if They're in the district, they've been paying. So.
I'm not taking a position, I'm just
Yeah.
articulating what the issue is.
Well, that's part of the issue.
But there are gonna always be people outside the district that are paying property tax
right.
that are never going to get service.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those people. So I mean, I understand that, but it's impractical and impossible for everyone to get service. So, I mean,
But it should be a goal.
I don't know.
No, I don't know.
Okay. Want to put you on record?
I think those are all good discussions for the plan for water, yeah, and we're gonna dive deep into it, so that'd be really, great discussion to have at that time.
Okay, so as we move forward, we've all heard about Governor Newsom's executive order N-722, basically said that the state is in severe drought and all urban water suppliers must implement stage 2 of their drought contingency plan with an effort to conserve 10 to 20% of water use. I did watch the State Water Resources Control Board meeting yesterday. They did adopt that regulation, so it's now underway. It's going to the OAL, but it will pass that more than likely, and this will become the rule of the land here shortly. Regardless, NID is prepared and ready to respond to the executive order, and that's what this resolution here today is all about. Basically, the required actions of NID is that we are to submit to DWR a supply and demand assessment by June 1st, 2022. Our hydrographers, TOR specifically, is already put that together in draft format, and basically it's an analysis of all our storage supplies, our demands for the next couple of years and all of that. And there's a pre-populated document that DWR provides to you that we fill out and send to them. So it's pretty straightforward stuff. In fact, we do this in the background all the time to analyze how much water we have for the summer months. So when they reference a demand assessment, that's what we're doing at staff level and turning that in. So we will comply with that. By the way, our demand assessment shows that we will be just fine. So part of the struggle with NID is that we're not only an urban water supplier, we're also an irrigation water supplier. And so we have to remind the state at times that we definitely have enough water for potable water use. And if we didn't, public health and safety is number one, and we will cut back irrigation supplies to make sure we have it. Regardless, our current assessment says we're fine anyway.
Do we post those assessments anywhere? Does anyone else get to?
We don't post them. We have not historically. In fact, this is a very new regulation that says we will do this every year from here on out. And I'm sure they'll be posted in the future. I think DWR is probably even going to post them.
State sites.
We haven't finalized all that yet, but we're working on it. Okay, so next, NID shall implement by June 10th, demand reduction actions identified in our shortage contingency plan for a stage 2. And basically that's what's in the resolution today. And then we're also regulating the use of potable water for irrigation and non-functional turf at commercial, industrial, and institutional sites. That really is very small for us, whereas only about 4% of our customer base fits in this category. So we'll reach out to all those individually with letters and inform them of what's going on there. But essentially, they're not supposed to water their grass unless it has trees in it, because you don't want to kill the trees, or some perennial plantings that you don't want to allow to die. But we will reach out to those folks and inform them of the new regulation.
And that doesn't cover golf courses. Those are functional.
No, that is a functional turf, yes. So last but not least, you've seen what's in the resolution. I threw this up here. This is our stage 2 supply shortage plan. All of the items here in black and white, we basically have implemented. The items in red, we did not. So first of all, moving down the sheet, you go, and I apologize, it's this small, but this is as big as I could get it, unless Chris zoom in up there, but. So
Thank you.
look at that.
Excellent.
Now I can kind of read it. My glasses fixed. Okay, so for the ag water customers, because this actual executive order was based on urban water use, we tried not to crack down too hard on the ag and urban folks, or excuse me, the ag folks. And so we were early on toying with the idea of shutting down the irrigation season a little bit early to conserve supplies. Now that Mother Nature has given us enough water to carry through the summer irrigation season, we'll be fine. So the imposition of reducing the season early to get 20% in conservation is no longer necessary for irrigation water. So we are, however, going to implement the same type of watering restrictions on our irrigation water users who are just watering landscapes. So if you're a farm or an ag business or a golf course or something like that, you're welcome to use the water to irrigate as needed for your business. But if you're just using this for watering your plants or your lawn in front of your house, we're gonna require you to follow the same 3 days per week watering as we are on our urban water use.
How are we going to implement that?
It's going to be difficult, there's no doubt about it. Basically, we're gonna rely on others to report waste and use to our reporting portal, and we'll reach out to those customers. But beyond that, it's very difficult. Oh, and communications, obviously, the mailings that we'll send out, but it's difficult.
Or to send mailings to the raw water customers?
Yes, because a lot of times our customers use the irrigation water for both. You may have a legitimate farm and you're irrigating 20 acres, but you're also watering in front of your house. And so the best thing we can do is just communicate and ask for their assistance in that regard.
So we're 3 days a week, we didn't say you're gonna water Monday,
Yeah.
Wednesday, and Friday.
It does state that, just for guidance. So, it's based on your address, and so odd address numbers, we recommend it's Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Even addresses, it's Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And we felt like we needed to be that specific so that we give people, some framework to operate in.
Okay.
Next, red text there is district actions. Declare no new or increased surplus water availability. Well, we're fortunate that we actually do have a surplus water amount available. And I think the district would be wise to utilize our surplus to help others that are in dire need. I think this is one of those times in which we are abundant. Can we help others that really need it? I think it goes a long way to elevate our status at the state as well, and maybe give us a little bit more credibility in the future, along with VAs and all of that kind of thing. So we need to have that surplus water available to help how we can.
So we'll sell to out-of-district Nevada City, Grass Valley, but will they then be imposed, like Nevada City went to a 30% reduction last year, will they be required then to go to a 20%?
Yes, that's correct, yes. We'll be reaching out to the municipal customers and letting them know the stage we're in. Per our water agreement contract, they will implement at least the same that we have done or more stringent.
They're required to by the state anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there's a retail water supplier.
So there's
I'm sorry, was that mutuals, or who were you speaking of?
Grass Valley, Nevada City.
municipal customers. The next item down there is organize the Drought Hardship Committee. Because there's really no mandatory reduction on the irrigation water at this point in time, we did not recommend organizing the Hardship Committee. And then, stage 2 conservation rates. Because that's already in the budget and it's not a demand management measure, we are not implementing that at this point in time.
So, to clarify, these things in red, what are the red things in here for?
They are the items within our Stage 2 drought contingency plan that we have not implemented in the resolution before you.
So does the resolution become our new drought contingency plan?
No.
No.
If you read the resolution, it says this is a bit of a modified drought contingency plan, Stage 2 implementation. And that's because the executive order didn't say that you will implement every portion of your Stage 2 drought contingency plan. It just said you must implement the demand management measures within your Stage 2, which we are doing.
And it also requires measures to be implemented that were not incorporated into our drought contingency plan. So because, pardon? They're in the resolution themselves.
Yeah. So for instance, be it for the list of A through H, we added item G. Item G is very specific to what's in the executive order, where it says irrigating ornamental turf on public streets or medians with irrigation or potable water, things like that.
G?
Page 8.
Page 8.
Oh, yeah, thank you. We also included it on page 9. So all the things that are very specific to the executive order are in this resolution, and they're a bit different than what's in our normal drought contingency plan, only because the executive order is different than the normal drought, at least for us.
I thought it said you would implement stage 2 of your locally adopted drought contingency plan.
Correct, and that's what we're doing today, with the exception of a couple items that aren't. And we wouldn't want to implement increased pricing on our customer base when we already have it in our budget. You'd basically be double dipping, and that's not fair. And it's not really required by the EO anyway. So we pulled things like that out.
How do you define measurable rainfall?
That's a great question, and I think it's like a tenth or
And it was,
like
it was
that.
a tenth of an inch.
Yeah.
So like in irrigating, if it rains 1/10 of an inch, I'm irrigating.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
the water just subs right in, so much better than if I let that 1/10 dry up and then irrigate again. I could lose the profile. And so I'm a little concerned about no application of irrigation or potable water. It actually helps in efficiency, and you can save water if you do it right.
That requirement's only reference to potable water, isn't it, Chip?
No, it is,
Did you put it
Yeah,
in both?
yeah.
That's a pretty standard requirement that was, yeah, it was required by the state the last go-around.
Yeah.
I suggest,
Saw it then too.
yeah.
I think the differentiation
Yeah.
should be in landscape versus commercial ag type operation.
Yeah.
They're very different.
Because you can really save water by irrigating during a rain, if it's not a, gully washer.
Okay, so with that, that's what is in the resolution before you today. And again, this is tricky messaging for NID because we have full reservoirs, we're good water supply wise, but we're doing the right thing, statewide to help the state. And we will get out there and encourage conservation best we can. There is fining authority available in this resolution. I'm gonna lean heavily on education to our customers and, encourage others to use the water waste portal so we can reach out to those folks who are potentially wasting water and educate them, and we'll go from there.
No one's being fined currently.
It's available, but not currently.
All right, thank you, Chip. Very good. Board discussion, any further board discussion?
You go for it.
Okay.
Any, Director Hall.
I wanted to, we've talked before about the idea of taking some district funds and incentivizing property owner use of water and creating some, I know we have staff who will come out and help someone assess their irrigation system, but I wondered, I was at a Placer County Farm Bureau meeting, and they were talking about incentive programs that they had offered, and it was actually last year, and it included things like pool covers, where you have so much evaporation coming out of pools. They had a tank program where you could, and they would help, I don't know how the fund sharing worked, but storage tanks were another thing that they had. Jennifer and I have talked about cash for grass programs, and it just seems like I would like to see us have some positive programs to help support our community. And maybe we start small and see how it goes, and what does it cost us, but last year we used the income from the drought surcharge to pay for overtime in the PG&E water, and apparently we've budgeted for those things now, so maybe we could find some funds to be able to support some of these programs in a meaningful enough way that we could really get some spread into the community.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation. The struggle we have is keeping the budget minimal, obviously,
Yeah.
is challenge one. But we also reach out to some of our neighboring agencies or partnering agencies like RCD and those that offer a lot of these programs as well. The state itself has some cash for water conservation programs. We're reaching out for those. We currently have a toilet rebate program that's ongoing. We did the mulch magic. So we have some things, but I agree, we can expand those greatly, but it does take money.
Yes.
So that's the challenge at hand.
Why don't we go back and we'll take a look and see if there's any options or grant opportunities? Because we also had, the board had set aside some funds for assistance with a grant consultant, so I'll just go back and look, see what we can come up with.
I'd much like to see this agendized for a different, it's great, great discussion, I agree with it.
And I did want to say for the record, I had asked Jennifer and then Chip confirmed that in Chip's history, which is long and mighty, that we have never, as a district, did a voluntary reduction of water program and then held the people, those customers who voluntarily reduced, held them to that reduced level when the water supply returned. So this is the great myth out in the community that if you reduce, you will never get your water back. And so being a customer who reduced last year, this year, my bill reflected the reduced amount, but I'm told that should I want to increase, that would be my choice.
Yes.
But I'm choosing to continue my reduced water purchase. But I think this is a myth. People are afraid to reduce because they don't, number one, they don't really understand how much they need, and number two, they fear that the water is, that's a permanent deal.
Yeah.
Even though I know we communicate it very clearly. I just think it's one of those things that's just gonna be a repeater. And when we're out in the community, making any presentations, oh, and by the way, we wanna debunk a myth.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I ask a clarification on that? You had mentioned that if this year you wanna, if you said, well, last year I reduced it because it was a drought, but this year, gosh, I want more water.
Yeah.
I can come this year and get more water.
I could go back to my original
This year.
purchase level, yes.
Because in our resolution, it says that, will not lose their priority service once the drought measures have been lifted by the board of directors.
Correct.
Not until the drought's been lifted.
Well, here's the
We're
problem.
still in drought this year. You
Director
won't do it
Peters,
this year.
the problem I have with that is that we're encouraging folks to do this voluntarily. If we lay a heavy hand on everybody that does this, nobody
Right.
will volunteer.
Right.
Well, then we shouldn't say that then.
Well, essentially, it does say voluntary, that you will go back as soon as the drought measures are lifted, which is why this year, when we sent out the billings, we sent them out at the lower rate, because we haven't fully lifted drought yet. Yeah, we went to school, the drought is not over yet. So we continue to bill those people at their lesser amount. If they have a hardship and they need to go back to it, we'll work with them.
Well, then we should say that. Then we should say, we'll not lose their priority if they want it back. On page 10.
And it's saying that
Yeah, we could, we will not lose.
new hardship will work with them.
Yeah, we shouldn't say it's not gonna be given until you lift the drought if it's not.
We'll just add, how about we just add, or if hardship is experienced and the original water allotment is required prior to the drought being lifted.
I think that's a good,
Okay.
And I'll give you another example that, so we also reduced 16-some%, and we're doing okay, but when we hit the hot months of July, August, and first part of September, we may not. So for that short window, we may have to go back up to our 6 minus inches. But we're trying it, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, our main goal is to encourage folks to give it a shot. I think they're gonna find that they can get by with a lot less.
right.
Yeah.
You know, and the other thing I heard at a Farm Bureau meeting was, a rancher speaking about a willingness to, really not just a willingness, but a desire to cut back end-of-season irrigation. And it seems that maybe we could have programs targeted to certain groups, you know, like the ranch. I don't know if it's feasible, but the ranchers really said, hey, we're done irrigating. We don't, we would be happy to cut back in September, mid-September. So I do think there might be ways to customize, kind of a reduction approach that helps support people whose livelihoods depend on the water, but really yield some positive results for the district.
There's nothing that stops them from turning their water off. But you're saying to get monetary money back, is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily, so that the system is integrated with that plan in mind. Yes, they may.
Well, hopefully any rancher that knows they don't need water, they're not gonna keep putting water on when they know they don't need it. They should turn it off if they don't need it.
Well, let me just clarify. The district is, they don't know what ranchers are intending to do. And so if there's more communication and more strategy between the district management of the water supply and the users, seems to me it makes your job a whole lot easier and more accurate in how you're managing water. Instead of saying 5 days after the fact, gee, we've really noticed a reduction, it's coming, and it's just better integration. And I just think it helps support the communication and people being, a recognized part of solutions, rather than just have to be happenstance.
Yeah.
And many irrigation districts do have call for water. The ranchers and the users call and say, this is my schedule, this is what I'm gonna be irrigating, and that's part of their operation.
But they don't have open ditches usually. Some do, some don't. But you call in generally when you have a pressurized system, it's all piped.
Well, and the irrigation district has valves.
President Beerwagen, Director Heck has her hand raised. I think she would like to participate. It's okay.
Director Heck, would you like to weigh in?
Yes, thank you, President Beerwagen. This is, I've been on the public speaking circuit here, and I've in the last couple of weeks have spoken to several hundred folks, and I'm weaving in, and thank you to Chip, our drought messaging, and I've been taking flyers and so on. And the questions that are coming back to me that I actually not certain how to answer is, well, wait a minute, last year we did whatever percent, and the year before that we did 20%. So is this a compounding 20% cutback to 20% cutback and now another 20%? Or what is the metric? And I know that we've established a base year of what, 2013? Is that right?
Yeah.
2020.
So that is a very good question.
And so I just want to make the point that this is a messaging thing that I think we want to bring out, especially to all the customers, but mostly I've been talking to treated water customers, and there is confusion about when you say a 20% reduction, 20% of what?
I see what you're saying.
That's a good
Yeah,
question.
so
20% of last year's cutback.
And the executive order is silent on the comparison as to what year you're going to compare to. If you'll notice in our resolution, we put to 2013 because that was the benchmark in the last drought,
Right.
and no one has changed as far as we know. So we put that in the resolution, and I think it's incumbent upon staff then to keep that slide updated that shows how we're doing and how we're comparing to 2013, and hopefully we achieve that 20% goal. So that's where we're at right now. It's hard to tell somebody we need you to cut back 20% as compared to 2013 when they don't really know how much water they used in 2013.
Right.
But that's where our job to convey the messaging on how to reduce water use becomes important, just across the board.
Right, and so it's a bit of a trick, right? To, well, how am I supposed to know what 20% is? Last year I cut back, and how do I know this? And so people are confused about what the metric is and how they can measure it for themselves.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Great point, and
I guess what I was wondering is if we could devise some kind of insert into the billing that explains this a little bit better so that people have some understanding of what we're asking them to do and what the state is asking them to do.
Yes, we do have that, and I would encourage those folks to go to our drought page, and it has all those recommendations on how to achieve 20% reduction. They're also welcome to call in and talk to our water efficiency technicians, and we can guide them through that. But, yeah, I mean, after today, we get this resolution behind us, we will start that messaging program in earnest and give some guidance on how to achieve those targets.
So Chip, I would take it that the bill does not include a year-over-year comparison.
Correct.
You know, like a PG&E bill will show you last year's use
No.
at the same time?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's too bad.
We-
It would be good if we had that information.
Yeah, we attempted that during the last drought, and because we used third party and whatnot, it
Oh.
became very difficult. Hopefully, when we get a new ERP program in here, we can customize some of that stuff, because
Yeah.
that would be a very useful tool.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But that's
Thank
a
you,
really
Ricky.
good point, Ricky, because
Yes, it is.
I'm sure it's frustrating for the treated water customers to really not know, are they hitting the target? I mean, and it's really what exactly does that target mean? I can see the
Right.
frustration.
Well, you'd have to take 12 months of bills and average it out yourself, and who's gonna do that?
Right.
I mean, that's not something a normal person's gonna do.
They can
Well,
always
and-
call in.
You have to understand that some of these people are new, right? And so they may not have billing history going back to 2013. In fact, many folks are new. And, 2013 to 2022, that's 9 years, I guess. And so it's like, how do you measure that? So it would just be helpful to keep that in mind when we're messaging, that's all.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why the measures in the executive order are so prescriptive. We learned a lot with the last drought. At 3-day per week watering restrictions, that easily gets you 20%. When we had to go to 30%, at taking off 1 day typically in treated water gets you about another 10%.
Oh, that's.
Yeah.
Well, that would be
Yeah,
good to message that. I did not know that.
Yep.
Yeah, that and just cutting back your outdoor irrigation timer by 20%. That's an easy start.
Yeah, that's an easy
That's
thing.
another good
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
tip.
Good. Now, how do we get these all out to the folks, right?
Yeah.
It'll go out and get out there.
Okay. Before we go any further, just a technicality, the board agreed to the amendment to the resolution.
I
We all agree to that? Okay.
I agree.
As I stated.
I won't go
So it's
through the formality of having a motion, okay.
So, starting on page 9C, customers who request a reduction or who voluntarily forego water delivery during the 2021-22 irrigation season will not lose their priority of service once the drought conservation measures have been lifted by the board of directors, or, this is added part, if hardship is experienced, an original allotment is required prior to drought being lifted.
As amended.
Okay.
Yep.
Further discussion. Did you want to say something else?
Are you finished?
I am finished.
I had a few things. So if I was just a general public that says, wow, there's drought in California, let's say I live in New Mexico, and I wanna go to the different websites of the different mountain counties and go, how is everyone addressing their drought contingency plan? Where would one person go to find NID's adopted water shortage contingency plan? As of today or as of tomorrow?
It's on our webpage. It's also folded into our urban water management plan.
It's not on our website.
It is on our, I can guarantee it. It's in our conservation section. But you keep in mind,
Is it as a plan or is it just bullets?
it's a plan. So what I showed you on that last slide, this item here is part of it, okay? That is our drought contingency plan. It's folded within the urban water management plan and the ag water management plan. Those were the versions that were adopted by the board, and both of those are available on our webpage.
Because
So moving forward, because of the reasons that Chip explained earlier, that was also noted in the staff report on, on page 2, it should be noted that the proposed resolution modifies the requirements of the district's water supply shortage contingency plan to address the conservation mandates that are required by the governor's executive order that are currently not included. to remove the requirement for customers to pay the drought surcharge that is currently required by the district's water shortage contingency plan, and to encourage greater raw water conservation by limiting water of ornamental turf and landscaping for both urban and raw water users. So after this act, that was a staff report. So after this action, the new resolution will be front and center on the district's conservation page.
And we can add to that, we can update the contingency plan stage 2. We can line out the items that are not being applied in this particular instance and update that on the webpage. We'd be glad to do that.
One of the challenges all water districts face and water providers is that you do the water shortage contingency plans or requirement of the urban water management plan and the ag water management plan. They don't exactly align with these annual or drought responsive executive orders by the governor. And so when we're faced with an emergency declaration by the governor, we are then having to move and modify what we currently have. So it's likely that moving forward through future droughts, that the water shortage contingency plan itself that's adopted on that 5-year basis cycle probably will not align exactly with the requirements we're required to do by some emergency action. So that's why we tried to make the resolution all-inclusive, and I'll make sure to note that on the webpage.
We're hitting the minimum that the governor's asked for, and we're going beyond.
Correct.
Water Code Section 10632A, every urban water supplier shall prepare and adopt a water shortage contingency plan as part of its urban water management plan that consists of each of the following elements. So this is a water shortage contingency plan that needs to be adopted, not adopt urban plan and Chapter 6 of the urban plan happens to discuss our water shortage contingency.
So
Let me finish.
That's not true. You can adopt it through the action of the urban water
10632A, the analysis of water supply reliability should be conducted pursuant. Okay, the procedures used in conducting an annual water supply and demand assessment that includes at a minimum both of the following: the written decision-making procedure that an urban supplier will use each year to determine its water supply reliability, the key data inputs and assessment methodology used to evaluate the service. It should be all in, that is a plan. It's a separate, it's not just Chapter 6 of the urban plan that then we have these tables over here, we got these other tables over there, we got these other stuff over there. It's supposed to be a plan, and it seems like, because this is something that Director Hall mentioned the other day, we shouldn't have to go say this policy, that policy, that policy. We should have one policy that we can adopt every year, and we're supposed to revisit it every single year and make any annual modifications that are supposed to be made in our adopted water shortage contingency plan, drought contingency plan. That's the same plan. Those are synonymous in the water code. But we should have a document, a single standalone document that is a plan that we do include, because in the urban and ag plans, you don't have to go back, what you reported, you don't have to go back and change. But if that's the only place it's written, then you would have to go back and change it because we've changed it. And that's the only place it is. We're referring, and I couldn't even find that we're referring to the ag and urban plans as where we find Chapter 6 is actually our now newly adopted drought contingency plan. Does anyone understand my concerns?
No.
No?
No. I'm gonna ask that we move on.
Do you understand what I'm saying? That, I mean, it's
This is
piecemealing everything. We've got this here, that there. We're gonna strike these out on this one. And please bring up, maybe I need, the public, someone we need to understand is where do we find this? I was looking just yesterday, I was looking the day before yesterday, trying to find where is our drought contingency plan on our website. And it can, bring it up, please show it to me. Prove me that I'm just talking out of my head here.
I don't know that it's relevant to what we've offered in the resolution because it deviates from the drought contingency plan that we currently have.
Well,
Your one-stop shop,
drought contingency plan.
so the one-stop shop now is the resolution. So I would recommend if you have members of the public that ask any questions, I would have more questions. I would suggest that we possibly try to work these issues out offline, because I don't know that we're gonna come to any satisfactory conclusion.
No, we don't have it.
In fact, if we're off the resolution, then we'll
No, the resolution is our drought contingency plan. This is not off our resolution. This resolution is our currently, in my understanding, this is our currently adopted drought contingency plan, this resolution. Is that correct? Am I incorrect?
No, we just detailed how it deviates
Yeah.
from the drought
So where is
contingency.
our contingency plan?
It's on the
Chapter
website,
6.
yeah.
The
Our ag and urban
ag,
plan.
yes. And the
Okay.
items that are required within it are in Chapter 6 of our our urban water management plan.
But nowhere else. Where else are they?
We can pull it out separately and make it a standalone document at some point in time. We just have not done that yet.
That's what the law says. Every urban supplier shall prepare and adopt a water shortage contingency plan that contains the following elements.
Which,
And we did.
That's a chapter in the urban plan. That's not a
Director Peters, we are
standalone.
going to move on now.
I have more questions. I have more
What is
comments.
are they pertinent to the
Yes,
changing the
to the
resolution?
resolution, yes. The
To
Georgia
changing
Department.
the resolution,
Yes.
okay? List one.
Our policy 8200 says surplus water is defined as water which is surplus to the needs of the lands within the district boundaries. So Dustin, can you define what lands within the district boundaries mean? Does that mean City of Grass Valley and City of Nevada City?
Director Peters, we've discussed this numerous times before.
I'm
This
not
is
done yet.
pertinent.
I'm not
Okay.
done.
Well, I'm going to
Let me
stop the
finish.
discussion at this point.
Well, let me finish my
Would any
point.
member of the public like to comment on this
I'd
item
like
right
to
now?
finish my point.
You're out of order. You're now out of order.
On page eight of this resolution, it says,
Director Peters, you're out of
the
order.
district declares a surplus. Is that our surplus? Does this mean that we're just declared a
Somebody call the
surplus?
question, okay?
Does that mean we're declared a surplus? Is this a surplus water declaration as well?
Would any member of the
Where is
public
that in our
like to
staff
comment at
report?
this
it's
time?
in the resolution.
Can
Lauren,
we
on
take
your
a break?
phone?
Can we just take a break?
We're
We
going
need-
to finish this conversation and the motion for the resolution. Then we'll take a break. Would any member of the public like to comment at this time? Starting on your phone? Any further board discussion? Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please,
For what?
for the resolution? We have a motion for the resolution,
Did we have a second?
and we had a second.
Oh, you did that on
Yes,
purpose,
no,
so you
listen.
could do that.
We had a
It's all
motion, I
staged. It's all
clarified,
staged.
I clarified that we'll have the motion first. We had a motion, and I clarified the amendment, that I could also require another motion just for the amendment, which I didn't do, okay? So therefore, it's time for this roll call, please.
Division 4?
I'd like to state for the record that this is also a surplus water declaration that is nowhere mentioned in the staff report, nor is it mentioned all of the details that need to be included in a surplus.
What is your vote, Director Peters?
And also, I'd like to note that,
Director
the
Peters, what is your
delegation
vote?
authority
Please.
is not, there's things in this resolution that are not discussed in the staff report, and that I feel it should have been 3 different segments. I say no.
Division 1?
Yes,
Division 5?
Yes.
Division 3?
Aye.
Division 2?
Aye. Thank you very much.
It's all too clever.
We'll take a 5-minute break. Okay, we're back in session. Next item on the agenda is General Manager's report. General Manager.
Thank you, President Beerwagen. I only have a couple of quick items. So as we previously discussed, I did just want to keep talking about it so the public is notified. We will be having the July 12th and the July 26th Plan for Water meetings at the Gold Miners Inn. Originally, the plan was also to move the other board meetings there as well due to the ramp reconstruction for the building. However, the ramp reconstruction project is going to be pushed out a little bit due to some additional structural comments we received from the city related to the plan review. So just keep that noted, and we'll start pushing that out to the public that those 2 meetings will be at the Gold Miners Inn, and possibly the 3rd and 4th one if we need them.
At the same time?
Correct, yes. So we're still sticking to general workshop, 3 p.m., and then 4 p.m. Plan for Water. And then the last item I wanted to cover was that on June 8th, there is the Placer County Ag Tour, but it is also our meeting date. So as of now, unless the board desires otherwise, we're going to continue with our planned regularly scheduled meeting. That sounds good?
Yeah, I do think that's the appropriate thing to do. I just would like to see if we could maybe look at that for next year,
Mm-hmm.
because I think it'd be informative for a number of board members and
Yes,
management
I
to be
thought
able
the
to
same thing.
attend, but I think at this point, we can't really
Yeah, I can reach out to, the organizers and just let them know that we, in the future, we'd love to participate. We just have a standing meeting, so maybe they could help work around it as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, on July 9th is the administrating hearing office, July 13th, our meeting in July 13th, Wednesday. There's a conflict for the administrating hearing office here.
Yes, we are aware.
And so are we going to continue that meeting and?
Yeah, we will report back to the board regarding that. Yeah, they also did that to us last time, so we did reach out to them, for them to reschedule the meeting, so we'll do that again as well.
Okay. Was that it?
Yes, that's it.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Okay, Board of Directors, reports. Who'd like to go first? Rich?
I want to thank Chip and Thor. We had a meeting at Lake Wildwood with General Manager Brian Cox and the Lake Committee, and questions were answered, and a game plan. I thought the meeting went very well, and Chip and you and Thor really had the answers, and it was great. Comment was that, hey, thank you. And they look to do that periodically because it's a good collaboration and how to save water, how to use it effectively, everything. I wanted to somewhat have to do with NID, but PG&E has a residential generator and battery rebate program. If you're on a well and you're in a fire hazard tier 2 or 3, they'll pay anywhere from $300 to $700 rebate on a generator for your well water.
Nice, good to know.
All right?
Yeah.
If you're
Good
a
thing
medical
to know.
baseline, you get a battery backup. After what happened this past week at Rough and Ready in Penn Valley, we're going to need it. Those guys, it was a PSPS because of their new settings, shutting down somewhere else, something up here, and they couldn't respond fast enough. So take advantage of this, get the generator before they're gone. I'm going, as soon as I leave here, I'm going to go buy mine.
Is that online? That
The
material?
application's online, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to find, but you get in there and it's there.
Thank you.
Okay. I think you have a year to get the money, the application to them, but I think they're gonna run out of money. So, California has a plan. This was in the union sometime about a month ago to pay farmers to grow less to save water, and they're really targeting irrigated pasture. The forecast I see worldwide, food shortage is it's nasty. Even in California, we're going to be short a lot of food, different types, rice, different types. And a side note, Soylent Green was set in 2022. If that means anything. But the impression I got going to Cal Farm Day and just thinking about it, the state really, I wonder how much they want to support water going to agriculture. And yeah, that's where the food comes from. So, and a lot of habitat, especially in Nevada and Placer counties. So I'm just putting it out there. Had a good talk with Ricky, and we figured that if she found, at Aqua, found that there was money available from the feds. Meeting with the chair of the State Water Control Board, he indicated that they had money for different water projects. Ricky and I would like to float the idea of her and I going after some of that money, getting more involved on a personal level, coordinated it with staff, and just, I don't know, maybe get a little more oomph to it, and see what we can do about getting some money for projects, extension lines, whatever.
Thank you.
Yep.
Director Heck, I see your hand raised. Would you like to go next?
Sure, thank you so much. Very quickly, I attended the Greenhorn Firewise community meeting. We had 120 people there, y'all. It was pretty amazing. And when it came time for questions, I was not on the dais at that moment, but the first 3 questions were, when is NID going to extend the water lines out this way? When is NID going to get more fire hydrants and, and extend their lines? And I just wanted you to know that that's very much in the public minds about that. And I really hope that we can look at this in our strategic planning and the plan for water about what is our plan, or maybe not a plan, I don't know, with extension of water lines then to allow fire hydrants, not just Greenhorn, but any place where there is a need. So that was very interesting. And then I did speak briefly when I was called upon about the upcoming drought restrictions. Then I went on Sunday night and spoke at the Greater Cement Hill Neighborhood Association, there it is. And there was over 100 people there, also delivered the drought versus abundance and conservation need message. And that is where, those questions arose out of, well, how do I know 20% of what? So anyway, I've been really active out there talking to a lot of folks, and it's been educational and great. And NID is being really well received, I have to say. So thanks, that's it.
Thank you, Director Heck. Director Hull.
I have been dealing with a couple of customer inquiries about ownership of a bridge over on a private road, with the property owners, of course, wanting us to be the owners of the bridge. Which I've
This
explained.
Lynn Lane?
What's that?
Lynn Lane?
No. I've explained that, no, you guys get the bridge too, in addition to the road. Also, met with a property owners association just to talk about managing the water flows on a private canal. And so that's what I've been up to.
A lot of problems with that one.
Yeah, a lot of problems.
Every district has those.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking to NID again to manage the private canal.
Good gig if you can get it, right? Director Peters.
Yes, on May 16th, I attended the Rural Lincoln Municipal Advisory Committee meeting. Those meetings are always very informative, and I enjoy going to them. And also, speaking of getting treated water to people, I think we should revisit the Regional Water Supply Project and bring water out to thermal land. So people that are dry wells out there's people with dry wells in Placer County that our taxpayers don't have any treated water. And so we have a plan on the books. I believe it's in our demand model. I think we've got a EIR that's 6 inches thick about it. And we should revisit that and put that in the mix on our plan for water to reinitiate that Lincoln Area Regional Water Supply Plan project.
Director Peters, the only thing I have is I met with a constituent too that has similar issues that Karen's describing. Always fun. Otherwise, that's my report. All right, at this time, we will be taking comment on items to be considered in closed session. We're going to have closed session next. If you'd like to comment, start on your phone.
Do not anticipate any reportable action.
Don't anticipate any reportable action. Okay. Last chance, if you'd like to comment on today's closed session material, start on your phone. All right, at this time, we will close the open session, open the closed session.